let's do it. It's weather for Weather Geeks on this Tuesday, the 10th day of January. Hard to believe we're a third of the way, roughly, through the first month of the year. It is turned out to be a fairly typical January so far when you average out the first 10 days. When we just look at today's numbers, we've eclipsed this official high of 38 that we reached earlier on today. We're into the 40s now. And I wanted to talk about our snow totals from this morning. Our storm this morning went pretty much as planned. 1.9 inches of snow at the airport. This was followed by a period of freezing rain, and then occasional rain showers after that as we warmed above freezing. So 1.9 at the airport. A few other numbers called into the weather service here, an inch or so. Sandy Lake, an inch and a half in Salem. About 2 inches in Austintown. Generally speaking, inch to 2 inches was a pretty good average for the snow earlier on today. Now we had a pretty good band of rain that pushed through late this afternoon into this evening. That is pushed out to the east. It's east of I-79 as I record this at 7:40 this evening. We've got another batch of rain pushing into western Ohio, and this is the batch that has the real strong winds with it. This is going to roll through here as we go into the late evening. It's going to be accompanied by some pretty ferocious winds, I think. Again, in the 7 o'clock hour, we're gusting to 30 at the airport, 46 though in Mansfield, 40 in Cleveland. I've been mentioning lately we have what we call a low-level jet above our heads. The wind is screaming at 80 to 90 miles per hour, only about 5,000 feet above our heads. Those are the kind of wind speeds you see more typically up at the jet stream level, 20, 30,000 feet, generally the height that airplanes fly cruising altitude with. But occasionally we get one of these low-level jets up at 4,000 or 5,000 feet. Now most of the real strong winds have been locked up in that 4,000 to 5,000 foot level all day today. But as we get into the evening, some of those winds, some of that wind energy is going to start getting pulled down to the surface with more efficiency. And so I'm concerned about some gusts to 40, 45, perhaps even close to 50, and some scattered power outages later on this evening. You'll see that here in our Futurecast. Here's the strong winds over the next few hours. By 2 o'clock, the wind is still gusting, but starting to diminish as that core of strongest winds pushes out to the east. And as you get up tomorrow morning, I think it'll be breezy, but not nearly as windy as it will be later on this evening. We have a cold front heading our way. It'll bring us that next round of showers. Now behind the front, not much cold air tomorrow. In fact, pretty nice day tomorrow. We'll see some sun in the morning before clouds increase again, and then timing on the rain's pretty good. It'll be after sunset. After 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, we'll get a band of showers, and we're going to be visited by raindrops occasionally right into Thursday, but that's not going to stop the temperature from skyrocketing. Temperatures will actually keep rising tomorrow night into Thursday morning. You'll wake up with temperatures in the 50s Thursday morning, and we'll peak in the mid-50s by midday or early afternoon. Temperatures might start to fall a little bit later in the afternoon in the wake of that next front. Now behind that next front, another pretty decent day on Friday. Now it is going to be a lot colder Friday. Back to about average, lower 30s on Friday, maybe even upper 20s. But we'll see a decent amount of sunshine. The big question for the weekend becomes what happens with the tail end of this front as it wiggles back north? What kind of precipitation does it bring? We'll talk about that in a little more detail in just a second. Now, counting the rain that's already fallen today and what will come tonight and what will then come tomorrow night, heading to parts of Thursday, both the GFS and the European model advertising a total of 1.5 inches to perhaps as much as 2 inches worth of rain. So a pretty good amount of rain. I think these numbers could be a little bit too high, but at least an inch when you count what's already fallen today and what is yet to come. So pretty good drink of water over the next couple of days. All right, let's switch over to the weekend now. After a calm Friday, the concern about the weekend has been ice and snow, but especially ice. Here's a look at the GFS model. Saturday morning at 7 a.m., we have a strong area of high pressure, fresh, cold Canadian air mass sitting over the northeast, and you have moisture returning and running into that cold air mass. Now, the surface will be cold. We're going to start Saturday in the upper teens to around 20. But aloft, a few thousand feet above our heads, temperatures will be trying to get above freezing. And that spells the potential for some trouble. Now, this is the GFS model showing the possibility of some freezing rain and sleet as we get into the midday and the afternoon. Although it doesn't advertise a tremendous amount of precipitation. What falls would suggest would be light. Now this is the GFS. I can tell you that the European model has a colder looking temperature profile on Saturday. It would suggest that instead of some sort of mixed bag, it's more like a few inches of snow. So there are pretty significant differences on both the timing and the type of precipitation on our two major medium-range models here. One of the things we look at, and I haven't shown this very often, one of the things we look at is analogs. We talk about analogs when we're making seasonal forecasts, but we look at analogs as well when we're talking about individual storms. And you can pick out similar looking storms and what happened with those in the past based on, based on what the model thinks is going to happen in the future. And so you have a storm here back in 2007 that produced a lot of freezing rain in the red colors here from Oklahoma right through northern Ohio into PA. You have a couple more that look like this. This is a storm from 1982. This one didn't bring much freezing rain to northern Ohio in 1984. Here's a similar looking analog to what the GFS is showing this is December of 2007, a storm then. So again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is one of the things you'll look at. The GFS is showing this. All right, let's look back at the past and see what happened with similar looking storms. And some of those storms, not all of them, but some of them produced some pretty decent freezing rain events in northern Ohio and western PA. So stay tuned for the weekend. Still a lot we don't know. Don't know if this is going to be a big deal, little deal, kind of an inconvenience, mostly snow, more ice than snow. These are things we just don't know quite yet. So if you have travel plans this weekend, stay tuned. We'll bring you up to date. I think Sunday's trending better, though. Whatever happens Saturday, I think Sunday's probably a better day. All right, we've been talking about the warmth in the medium range, and it is a flat-out blowtorch next week. This is last night's run of the European long-range forecast, showing the 7 to 14-day outlook here. Oranges and browns, all sorts of warm January weather across the eastern two-thirds of Canada and the U.S. Here's the 11 to 18 day. Here's the 14 to 21 day. And then once we get into the end of January and into the beginning of February, you're going to start noticing some changes here. And I think this is probably the right idea. This has the support of a lot of our other long-range modeling. February is starting to a lot of signals there that we're going to head back into a colder pattern, perhaps even a colder than average pattern in February. February could be kind of like December. This winter could end up being like bookends. December, February, cold. January, not so cold. So you see a lot of blue here, meaning below average temperatures advertised on this model. Some of the other modeling as well as we get into the month of February. So we'll come out with a February forecast in a couple of weeks. It's only the 10th day of January, but I did want to show you kind of beyond what we've been talking about lately. We've been talking a lot about the January warmth. Beyond that, there's a lot of signaling that February is going to turn out to be colder and stormier than January will turn out to be. Thanks for watching Weather for Weather Geeks tonight. I'll have radars and fresh updates on the wind gusts. I think the wind could be a big story tonight. Coming up tonight on 21 News at 11, I might even do a Facebook Live before the 11, bringing you an online update as to what's transpiring outside. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night.